Rivers back at it again with a new episode of the Boy Time Podcast. And as always, I'm joined by Babby.
Mm.
Mm. This is week 2 of Elvis Marathon that will take a long time. But before we get into that, because I watched Loving You, I guess I should say that's the movie that I watched this week. It's the second movie. We're going to first talk about a movie that just came out that I watched called Michael 17. No
Seeing it on
spoilers, of
Tuesday.
course. No spoilers, of course. I just want to give,
About it for 2 weeks.
yeah, no spoilers. I probably won't even talk about the plot very much at all. But I just want to say that I saw it, and it is very nice. It's really weird, and I think you could probably gather that based on the trailers. I don't think I ever watched any of them. But he's on his like weirdo post-apocalyptic sci-fi thing, like Snowpiercer. There's actually a lot of similarities to Snowpiercer. So I don't know if when he makes American movies, if he kind of just follows the same formula. But I'll take it. There's here's what I will say. The politics aren't quite as tight as they are in Parasite. Because some of it feels incredibly subtle and nuanced, and then Mark Ruffalo is playing an over-the-top Trump caricature, and it's like not even subtle in the slightest. That's what they're doing like a thing for. I will say they did bet on the wrong horse because they specifically had in like this guy's bio or whatever that he lost 2 elections. He's a failed politician. He ran for president twice and lost twice. Isn't that crazy? And now he's taking a bunch of people up to space, and they're all weirdo fascist cultists that wear red baseball caps. It's like, okay, I understand. I don't know how that's going to age. Maybe it'll age very nice. Maybe it won't age very nice. I don't know. It just feels like with Parasite, it felt a little more timeless, talking about like class struggle in general instead of one guy. But he is an evil one guy, so I guess it makes sense to poke fun at him in like a political satire way. And obviously Charlie Chaplin did the same thing with Hitler, with the Great Dictator. So it does kind of feel there's an edge to it, but it does feel a little bit over the top in some areas, which we'll talk about when you watch it. But just first impressions, very nice. I'm glad that he just was willing to make a completely weird, off the wall movie. Especially as a follow-up to Parasite, which is dreadfully serious. There's funny moments in it, but it's dealing with some pretty big themes. And this one is too, but it is more of I just got a blank check from a studio because I won Best Picture. And so I'm going to make something really weird and see if they'll let me get away with it. It's not quite a Freddy Got Fingered situation, but because this movie is actually good, but it is that same kind of thing. So that's what I will say about Mickey 17. I think people should see it. It's very, very good. But don't go in expecting another Parasite. This is a weirdo Bong Joon-ho movie. And frankly, we don't have enough of those. So I'll take it. It's very nice. Rent it from your local library. But that's all I'll have to say. We'll probably talk about it next week after you watch it. We'll talk about it more in depth next week. The stuff we liked and didn't like, but I don't want to give anything away. So that's all I'm going to say for now.
Yippee.
Yay. That's it for new stuff. We're going to move on to Elvis time, baby. Everyone's favorite hour. We're talking about Loving You, 1957 Elvis classic, his big follow-up to Love Me Tender. And I think Love Me Tender made a bunch of cash because a bunch of teenage girls were going to the theaters, and I think like well, not the backstory, but like what ended up happening was that it was like the Eras tour or something in theaters where it was just like constant screaming. You weren't just sitting down and watching a movie in a theater. It was more like a interactive thing, which I don't know. I would imagine that like something like A Hard Day's Night or Yellow Submarine would probably. Well, I don't know about Yellow Submarine. That's weird, but A Hard Day's Night probably got a similar reaction. But I think Era's tour is a more relevant reference for that. So, of course, Colonel Parker saw dollar signs and he talked to his good friend Hal Cantor, who uh, I think he's mostly a producer or something. Maybe he's a writer. I don't know. I know he does a lot of Elvis movies. I think he was someone on staff in the Elvis team, but this is the only one that he directed. And this movie is kind of interesting because, like I said, 1957. This came out a year after Love Me Tender. I think Elvis is maybe 20 or 21 at the time of this movie coming out. And they already made a biopic about Elvis in his second movie. It's it's kind of like alternate reality Elvis. It isn't like exactly like I don't know. He isn't like playing himself. He's playing a guy named Deke Rivers. But there's a lot of parallels that you can make to Elvis's real life here. In that, like, a lot of the like traditional musicians and older people in town are all like, we should ban this guy because he's shaking his hips, which I think is funny because nobody even brought that up in Love Me Tender, and they were all 100 years older than the people in this movie. But uh, yeah, all the old people hate him. His agent, who's a lady, so it's legally distinct from Colonel Parker. She takes 50% of his earnings, and Elvis in the movie is like chill with it. Uh, when I was like famously what Colonel Parker took was 50% of everything that Elvis made, and then he gambled it away on I don't even know what he played. I have to assume Texas Hold'em because he was a big Texan despite not being from America. But he's a Texan of sorts. So it's just kind of weird, like watching it, and there's like so many parallels, and like all the little, like not little girls, but all the teenage girls like go crazy and they're yelling at him while he's performing. It's very weird and meta, but also it's really boring. Like this is, I mean, I don't think like Love Me Tender was like the most grippy experience of my life, but this movie was like 15 points less grippy than Love Me Tender, if you will. And I will.
I love grippy.
Me too. Me too. J. Cole is a idol of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And so is The Weeknd, which is why I was glad he named his show that. Because it was like, oh, that's how I feel about The Weeknd.
Meta commentary.
It is. It is. Very smart guy, The Weeknd, especially when it comes to motion pictures. That's what I always say.
I agree.
Was he in Uncut Gems?
I think he was, yeah.
Is that the only other movie he's been in?
Seems very After Hours coded. I think he was in that.
Yeah, I think him and is Kevin Durant in that? There's some basketball player in that movie.
I feel like Kevin Durant strikes me as someone who won't be able to act to save his life. But
I could see it, yeah. He's too busy being on Twitter. Under like 7 alt accounts.
He would probably give like he'd give a LeBron in Space Jam 2 kind of performance.
Oh. I don't like that.
I enjoyed LeBron in Space Jam 2 because he was just so awkward.
He's very awkward. That smile is never going to be erased from my memory. I can't believe that the director of that film saw that and was like, "That's good, let's keep it." As
That's
if it
so
wasn't
funny.
the most terrifying face that anyone has ever made.
And he does it like 5 times.
Yeah, I don't like it. They should make a biopic about LeBron James.
There'll be a plenty.
Yeah, I doubt it.
There has to be.
They don't really make biopics about basketball players.
Never.
They'll make biopics about basketball players' moms doing business negotiations with Nike.
I suppose.
Yeah. That's the only basketball biopic I can think of. It's not even about the guy. Because there's no Larry Bird biopic or Magic
That man can't
Johnson.
jump.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Wow, now that I think about it, there really isn't. I said that as a bit that they don't make biopics out of basketball players, but I can't think of one.
Yeah, it seems like an untapped market, honestly.
Yeah, that's weird. I mean, like the closest thing we have is something like Space Jam,
Yeah.
and that's saying something, I
Shazam.
guess. Shazam. That's no, it's Kazam.
Oh, I got
Shazam is
Mendoza.
the one with Ice-T.
I got Mendoza.
Kazam is the one with Shaq. And I don't think that's a biopic. He just plays a genie in that movie.
Depends on how you look at it.
I guess you could credit his movie Steel with being the biopic
Mm,
for his DJ career,
I suppose.
which I've never seen. I think it would be fun to watch that. I think is I think that might be the first black lead superhero movie. Correct me in
I
the
think it is.
comments, but I think that that's true because it came out before Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it took Marvel until Black Panther to have a black led superhero movie. And that came out in like 2017,
So,
2016,
yeah, something like that. 18 maybe? I think that's when the album came
1884.
out, which would make
Really?
sense. Yeah.
2018? 2018 was Endgame. Or no, 2019 was Endgame,
Mm-hmm.
2018 was Infinity War. I remember being a senior in high school when Infinity
Yeah,
War
Black
came
Panther
out.
album came out 2018, February 9th. So
Oh, so
early 2018, I guess.
oh. And then did Infinity War come out later that year?
I think that was like, yeah.
Okay. That would make sense. The point of the story is that Elvis is playing himself in this movie. Somehow all that loops back to this, I guess. But speaking of Colonel Parker and his shifty gambling habits, we need to talk about the lady that plays Elvis's agent because she is a. I guess I was gonna say she's like a '50s wisecracking lady, but that literally is what she is. Um, she doesn't talk in a transatlantic accent, but she might as well be. Uh, it's kind of wild, and she's like flirting with everybody, and to the point where like some of it, I don't know how it got past the Hays Code censors because it is like not implied. It's like pretty explicit. Where it's like, ooh boy, I wouldn't mind riding on that guy's big car engine. Something to that effect. I don't quite remember the quote, but you know what I'm saying. She's very. I think like at the time that would have been like, oh, she's just like a quirky, flirty girl. But these days, like the stuff she's saying, I'm like, this is bordering on sexual harassment, especially because she's his boss, and it feels really weird the things that she says. She even kisses him, which I thought was an odd choice. If I'm gonna be honest, I thought that was an odd choice because I feel like the target audience for this movie was teenage girls that liked Elvis. So why would you have Elvis's main romantic lead be a 55-year-old woman? feels a little weird. Although I guess it would have been even more weird if Elvis fell in love with like a 14-year-old girl.
More accurate.
It would have been more accurate. Well, actually, Elvis's girlfriend at this point would have been 11 or 12, and they hadn't have met
Oh,
yet. Because this
he
is
wasn't
before,
out of grade school yet.
not quite. And I guess I don't really know. I think, oh geez, I'm gonna have to do some research. I think they met in France or Germany, probably Germany, because it was when Elvis was in the army. Uh, and I don't know if her parents or like her dad was in the army, and so she went over with him. I don't really know why she was in Germany, but that's where they met. And at this point in the story, Elvis has not been drafted, so he has not met his teenage girlfriend. So there's no little winks or nods to that yet, but there will be. Trust me. Unfortunately. But what is funny about this movie is that you can tell that Elvis wanted to be the next James Dean, but I don't think he really knew why James Dean was like good because I think he watched something like what was it, Rebel. Why can't I think of the freaking James Dean movie? Is it Streetcar Named Desire and then Rebel Without a Cause?
Sure.
Those sound correct? Uh, 1951, James Dean. Okay. Oh wait, no. Streetcar Named Desire is Marlon Brando, so it's probably Rebel Without a Cause. So, might be sorry, but he watched that movie and said, "Oh, James Dean, he's so angsty and he's so masculine because he never emotes. I'm gonna do that." But when Elvis does it, it just like sucks all of the charisma out of his performance. Um, which I mean, I know that he phones it in later in his career, but like this is his second movie, and it already feels like he's given up. But I don't think he was. I think he was just trying to do this James Dean impression where he's like, don't ever show any sort of like happiness, just always saying angry and sad. Just be a super mucho macho man. But Elvis can't really pull that off, unfortunately. The weird thing about this whole movie thing that Elvis did is that he had never acted in anything before, and he just like got movie roles because he was a big star. So, um, if you haven't seen any of these Elvis movies, it definitely shows. I think he probably should have taken some time off, go to Tish like Lady Gaga, and then become a great actor like Marlon Brando or Paul Newman or Jimmy Stewart. Elvis could have been the next Jimmy Stewart. Wouldn't that have been nice? Although I don't think Jimmy Stewart dated a 14-year-old. I guess I don't know. Anything's possible in this dog eat dog world.
Doggy dog.
Doggy dog, Snoop Doggy dog. You should go back to that. Why'd you drop the doggy?
I don't know. I
And
mean, there's
then
a new kind of doggy in town, but it's
there
not a fun one.
is. Who's the other
It's not
dog?
pronounced that way, but there's a government agency called Doggy now.
Oh, I guess, yeah, that's true. I never really thought of it that way. It is called doggy.
Got a little AI dog as their logo.
I like that. I like
It's
that.
awful.
I think that AI is better than human artists.
Yeah, that's why we have our podcast.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we're not like creating art, we're just talking about it. And
Yeah.
I like AI art more than I like normal, good human art.
Okay.
I once typed into Chat GPT, make me a painting that looks like Van Gogh's Starry Night, and it was like way better than Van Gogh's Starry Night. So, and you can
I can see
quantify
that.
that.
Hmm.
The numbers showed that it was better than the original. So I have that framed and it's in my house and it looks really nice. Everyone that's come over is like, wow, that's a really impressive Starry Night. Did you paint that yourself? And I say, yes, actually.
Yes, I
Uh,
did.
Even though I printed it, that's like 30 DPI, like really bad painting job. You can see all
Mhm.
the pixels. It wasn't my finest hour, but I only have a 10-year-old printer, so it was the best I could do. But everyone says they believe me, so that's good. I always ask. I'm like, yeah, I painted that. Do you believe me? And usually they say yes. And then we move on to the next topic of conversation because I assume they're a little embarrassed that they don't have the kind of talent that I have
True.
typing.
You're humble.
I'm a real humble guy. I mean, I'll answer the question, I won't ever bring it up, but I also do want to know if they're being sincere.
Mhm.
Do you think that I could have painted this? And they
Be
say yes.
honest.
Be honest. And they say yes, of course, you're a very good painter, which is true. I've only done one painting in my entire life and it sucked. So, um, and then the other one that's on my wall, that one's good. I did that.
Mhm.
That's the cool thing. This is another cool thing about AR art, and I think this is something that like Elon is really gonna latch onto is that it allows people who are otherwise untalented or uncreative to enter spaces usually reserved for talented and creative people,
Mhm.
which I
Which is
really
always
like.
great.
Yeah,
There's no
no,
clash there.
there's no clash, and what's great about this is that actually, if you look at it, there is kind of like a Marxist slant that you can kind of look at this through, where it is this great. It's an evener of society. You know, you have you because that was the thing about art before is that it was really exclusive because it was so hard to get into because you had to be good at it. But now you don't have to be good at it, and you can be the same level of respected as someone that actually knows how to make art, and I
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, definitely the same amount of respect.
Hmm.
No pushback.
No, well, I mean, there is now, but I'm thinking of like a perfect utopia where AI is
Ah, yes.
accepted. Because that's the thing is that there is this big pushback, and all of these artists are coming out and being like, we don't use AI in any of
They're
our.
just jealous.
They're jealous, and I think what they are is they're elitist, really,
Mhm.
because this AI thing is the great. Uh, it's a thing that people can use to break the glass ceiling of sorts. And I'm
You'd be
really.
better conservative than conservative. I know it's so easy to make money off of this stuff now.
It is really easy. That's the
Mhm.
thing about all this, all these right
If I didn't
wing
have a soul, I'd
grifters.
be making so much money.
It's so easy to do this. I do it all the time. Where you can just lie. Because
Mhm.
believe it or not, I didn't believe anything of what I just said in the last 5 minutes. But it doesn't
But you said
matter
it in an
because you bought it.
academic type way. So it's like, oh, he's spin.
I guess. I guess I said it in an academic way.
He use fancy language.
Yeah. The thing that's the thing about AI is that it's good. And you should download my AI app called Boy Time AI Generation. We're working on it. That's a temp title. It's still in beta, but you can use it and it'll make a picture for you. But it's
Yeah,
different from all the other ones because this one is better, and it requires $15 a month to
for
use.
use.
Well, per use. Yeah, no, that's
We're
better
talking
actually.
about this, and I'm making the worst thumbnail that will ever grace the channel while
Oh,
we're
okay,
talking about this.
perfect.
So,
I'm glad. Oh, yeah. I once here's how I know that AI will never replace me personally because I do this thing where I have this picture of this guy named John and I Photoshop him
yes.
in all sorts of basically Photoshop him as different people named John.
Hmm.
Right, what am I right now? Jonald McDonald.
Yeah.
And so I was going to do John Arbuckle, And I was like, that would be
Mm-hmm.
great. But I couldn't find a good picture of the John from Lasagna Cat. And I didn't want to do the John from the live action Garfield movie. So I was like, I know, I'll see if AI can make this easier for me. AKA, I just kind of wanted to see what would happen if I said, draw this guy as John from Garfield. And it really did not understand the prompt at all. So
Yeah, that's the thing about AI tools. They kind of suck.
they do, and they're not helpful. I,
No,
actually, no. Well, I mean, they're better than the real stuff, though. Like,
I mean
it's
they're helpful in the things that they're supposed to be helpful at, like menial, stupid tasks that don't
uh,
require any amount of human input.
right. And I do like that. I like that, like, the texting app has, like, figured out how, like, a robot would answer a text that was sent to me, and then it, like, pops up really big on my screen, and then I accidentally send, like,
Yeah,
something that a bot would write.
I'm working, and I get a Teams message from my coworker, and I just hit the auto reply button, and I'm good. It's easy.
I guess. It is nice. It is nice. Do you think they'll ever make oh, like in Blade Runner 2049, they have the Elvis
Mm,
hologram.
mm,
Do you think we'll ever
I
get to
can.
a point where we'll be able to have our own Elvis AI like Ana de Armas in that movie where he can be our
Mm,
boyfriend?
hmm
That's what I
I
want to
think
know.
so.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Do
I'd be
you
down for that.
do you think that Elvis has remained the same amount of culturally relevant as he has for like the past 70 years? Do you think that
I don't
people will
know if
care
it's
about
like
him in 50
the
years?
peak. I think people will.
Yeah.
Mostly because it like speaks to like a bygone golden era of America that never existed, but people love to latch onto that garbage.
Oh.
And as we
Yeah.
lean into a more like fascist traditionalist state, like that's just gonna get even more popular. So I could see
Mm.
it.
So what you're saying is that it's good I'm doing this marathon now
Yes.
because
I
I'm
think Elvis is more of a symbol than a person at this point.
mm, that's interesting. And it's probably true. Frankly, I don't know enough about the guy. I did watch the Baz Luhrmann movie. That's basically all I know about Elvis. So I know that he got screwed by Tom Hanks. That's basically it. Oh, and that he dated a teenager, which is
Mhm.
something we're going to reference every single week for the foreseeable
You
future.
have to.
Maybe at every movie, I'll once he finds Priscilla, then I will list how old she is when the movie was made,
Mhm.
and also maybe how old Elvis was. That would be a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
So let me see for this one, 1957. He was born in 1935, so he was 22. Let's see how old Priscilla was. Okay, she was 12. I was right. So 12 and 22. Um, that's how old they are right now in 1957,
Okay.
which I think is cool. I like that, I guess. See, now I'm doing the AI thing, but now it's about pedophilia, and I don't think that's the right call. uh, whatever. Oh yeah, but his boss is like sexually assaulting him, and it's weird. And then she like buys him a nice car so that he stays with her, and then like she's like very manipulating, and like he finally falls in love with a nice young Aryan girl, and she rips him away from her and says, "No, I need you to be on the road. Don't you want to be on the road with me in this fancy car I bought you?" And so then Elvis says yes. And so I, through this point in the movie, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like they're clearly setting up the Colonel Parker substitute character to be the bad guy. I wonder what will happen because at the end of the movie, she like breaks down and is like, yeah, I did all this awful stuff to you, Deke Rivers, but I did it because I wanted to see you succeed. And you know what? I'm going to tear up the contract where I take 50% of your earnings And can we still be friends? And Elvis says, "That's all I've ever wanted. Uh, I got into this whole music thing to find friends along the way." And so it's actually a heartwarming tale where friendship is the real treasure at the end of the film, not fame or fortune or the ability to star in a movie despite having no acting experience. The reward is friendship. And at the end of the day, I think that's beautiful. So I gave Loving You 1.5 stars, I guess.
A
That's what it
classic.
comes down to. I don't remember. I think I gave Love Me Tender 2. I'm very worried because I know they get really bad. And like this is not quite the golden era, but getting there. So, uh-oh, I guess is what that means. But after this, we're going to be, what is it? I think is it Jailhouse Rock? I think Jailhouse Rock is the next one, which I am really excited for. Why doesn't, why does Letterboxd sort by popularity instead of release date? I need to know. Okay, yeah, it is Jailhouse Rock. Jailhouse Rock came out the same year as Loving You, and his name in that film is Vince Everett. Fun fact about Jailhouse Rock, it is the only Elvis movie that has been accepted into the Library of Congress for being a essential part of American cinema, which I think is kind of interesting. Jailhouse Rock and Shrek are in the same vault, so
They should be.
they should be. I'm very interested. This is uh, one of the movies that I definitely heard of before doing this, obviously. So I'm very excited. Oh, and there's one other thing about Loving You that's kind of interesting. Elvis's real parents are in it. And I don't know if you know this about Elvis, but he had a very tight relationship with his mom. He was a mommy's boy at heart. And because she was in this movie, after she died, like a couple years later, like he couldn't watch the movie after that. Like he'd watch some of his old movies later in his life, but he couldn't rewatch Loving You because his mom and dad were in it. So I guess that's a fun fact. It's pretty fun, I guess. But I paired that movie with another musical biopic about one of Elvis's contemporaries. This film is called Walk the Line, and it's about Jack Cash, or as his friends call him, Johnny Cash, the guy who did Hurt. I think that's,
That song he wrote.
yeah, I think that's all of the songs of his that I know. And I know that he did write that. And it is kind of interesting that Nine Inch Nails did a cover of it.
It's really
But
weird.
it's kind of odd. They definitely took it in a different direction.
I feel like you would really like Johnny Cash. I feel like you should be on this.
Really?
Yes,
I don't know. I I don't
it's
know.
good stuff.
I'm sure there is. The thing that I know about Johnny Cash, bits aside, I hate, and that's with a capital H. Is it Great Ball of Fire? I hate that song.
Interesting.
I do not like it one bit. It's so corny. It feels like someone making fun of like a Johnny Cash song. Like it sounds like a parody. It doesn't sound real to me. And I find it odd that people turn up to it the same way they turn up to like Sweet Caroline. Because I'm like, I don't like that song either, but I get it more than I get Great Balls of Fire. So I guess that's my Johnny Cash hot take. I have not listened to any of his other music besides Hurt, which is, I guess it's probably actually, I don't know. I was going to say it's my favorite cover, but I guess I don't. It's good though. It's a good cover because that's the last song he did, right?
One of them, I think.
Yeah, because I
It's a good
found.
cover because people like don't always know like that's a cover,
Oh yeah,
which I think is you can't say that a lot about a lot of
no,
things. So
no, except for Gary Jules's Mad World,
yeah,
because that was in a Gears of War 2
disturbs the sound
trailer.
of silence.
Oh no, I think that song has been completely forgotten about now.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it's not great. Um, I think the moral of that story is don't cover Simon and Garfunkel.
Especially if you're disturbed, don't make music.
Well, that too. Disturbed did another cover. They did, I think it was the album after the Sound of Silence album. They did one, and it was Invisible Touch by Genesis.
Like,
Um, it's a weird cover because it doesn't sound that different than the Genesis version. So I don't really know why they did it. The Sound of Silence one at least sounds very different than Simon and Garfunkel. I will say that that is a more worthwhile cover than someone just doing the same thing. You feel
yeah,
me?
I could see that.
Well, you don't agree. So what are your opinions on the matter then, huh?
I don't think a new metal band should be covering anybody,
Well, I
frankly.
agree. I agree with that. I'm just saying, of the two covers, one of them has more of an
They
artistic
should worry
value.
about making their own songs because they have trouble doing that sometimes too.
I don't. They made Down with the Sickness, right? They did the
They
ooh
did, yeah.
ah.
Wow, yeah,
I like that.
the best thing they've ever done, probably.
I think so. And
It's
the
that
lead
one
singer
little
has
funny
a,
line.
a bold style choice, having two rings in his chin.
Yeah,
That's kind of interesting.
he signed those missiles that Israel sent during the start of that.
Wait,
He was one of
what?
those guys. Yeah, there was like a whole bunch of celebrities that like signed missiles that they were throwing over to children.
Oh, how have I not heard of that? Why was the Disturbed guy invited? He's not a
I don't
celebrity.
know. I don't think he's Jewish.
Yeah, I don't even know what his name is. It's just Disturbed guy.
I can picture him in my head so vividly, but I have no idea what his name is.
Yeah, he's a bald guy with rings in
Very
his.
shiny head. Yeah,
Lead vocalist David Draymond.
David Draymond.
That's a very kind of basic name
It is. You should
for a
have
really
changed it to something
extraordinary
cool.
guy. He kind of looks like Phil Collins.
Yeah, if he was edgy.
That yeah, if Phil Collins was edgy, that's what. And Phil Collins was pretty edgy. You ever listen to the Brother Bear soundtrack?
Yeah, I suppose that
It's
is a
pretty
banging
scary.
soundtrack.
Oh, it is. It's great.
It's way too good at that.
Oh, I know. I'm sad that Brother Bear flopped
Brother
because
Bear was like one of my favorite movies as a kid.
I don't know if I saw it a whole lot. I think my grandma had a copy of it on DVD, so we used to watch it when we went to her place. But I don't really remember it. I know that it's about a Native American man that gets turned into a bear.
It is, yes.
I think that's
It's very sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Think it holds up.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm sure it probably does.
All right. Well, join us next week. We're going to be doing a feature of Brother Bear.
Brother Bear.
It's
It's a
gonna be a good one.
gradual step after Blade Runner 2049.
I think so. I think it makes more sense than whatever we're gonna do next,
Mm-hmm. Probably.
which I don't know what it is.
Mm.
We'll get to it later. We'll figure that out at an unforeseen time. Oh yeah, we were just starting to talk about Walk the Line. Walk the Line, 2005, directed by James Mangold, who is now in the Disney, Marvel, Star Wars hole. He made Logan in 2017. Most recently, he did Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the newest one. And the thing that he is working on right now is the Star Wars movie that takes place like 10,000 years into the future. It's the forming of the Jedi Order. So I guess you could say James Mangold at this point is pretty run through, as the kids say. Is that the correct usage of that term?
Sure.
Okay. He also worked on A Complete Unknown, and by worked on I mean directed it. So the guy likes music biopics, at least enough to do one every 20 years or so. But this one was the first one that he did about Johnny Cash, where Joaquin Phoenix, of course, plays Johnny Cash. Reese Witherspoon plays June Carter, who was someone that was married to Johnny Cash for a long time, but was not his first wife. And the film dives into that. The whole film is basically a love story between these two people. And it never really talks about the fact that Johnny Cash already had a wife and had 3 children with her, and then left her to go be with June Carter. Um, but, he left his wife for June Carter, but then they ended up being married until they both died. So that is pretty redeeming. And I think I can confidently say Johnny Cash, good guy. I don't know. I don't know much about Johnny Cash besides the film. He could have been a terrible
Well,
person. I don't know. He toured with Elvis. Not a good
I think it's
start.
pretty cool.
Do you think he's pretty cool?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know enough about the guy. I know he played in prisons.
Yeah. I feel like he was a cool old kind of cowboy type where they're like actually like decent people.
I don't know. See, I think the movie, having known nothing about Johnny Cash before going into this, it definitely doesn't like paint him in the best light. Because, I mean, the whole thing is focusing on this affair that he was having, but also it's like chronicling his, like, he had a huge drug addiction. And he was like, but it was weird. He was taking like perks. It wasn't like he was doing coke or
He's
heroin.
way ahead of his
He
time.
was like, he was taking pills. Like that's kind of sick. That's something that him and Lil Tecca have in common.
Exactly. They should have collabed.
I wish. I think Little
Like
Tecca,
Trippy Red and
Little Tecca might have been like 5 when Johnny Cash died,
yeah.
because I think he died in 2003. Because this movie came out in 2005, and it had one of those things at the end where it was like Johnny Cash and June Carter ended up being married until she died on this day, and then he died
Mhm.
4 months after in 2000 whatever 2003. I don't know. Maybe I should listen to Johnny Cash. If you're a big Cash head, a big old John freak, be sure to drop what I should listen to in the comments, because I don't know. Never listened to the guy. Oh, it's Ring of Fire. Was I saying Balls of Fire?
We're saying both.
No, whatever. I don't like that song. I am looking at his Spotify right now, and Hurt is his most streamed song. So that's pretty cool. It's not even really close. Hurt has about 650 million streams. Ring of Fire is the second most with 400 million. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I guess it's his most popular song. So you could say Johnny Cash, most known for his original song Hurt, originally by 9 Inch Nails. You have to say it like that. It's a legal workaround.
Mhm.
Um, I forgot what I was saying. Oh, is the movies paints him as a bad guy. So I don't know. It feels more like an actual biopic, because he was dead after it. Basically, this is a hard and fast rule. You should never make a biopic about someone that is still alive, And or you should never do a biopic about someone who is still alive and let them have some sort of creative input on their portrayal in the film because they are going to skew it positive. And I mean, like A24 is doing the Elon Musk biopic. Shouldn't do that, but I don't think Elon Musk is in the writing room for that. And I imagine that the biopic is
I
going
hope
to,
not.
well, yeah. I imagine that A24 is not going to make a pro Elon Musk biopic. So I don't think it should be made, but it's more respectable than something like Bohemian Rhapsody, where like the two still alive members of Queen were like super involved in the writing process and glossed over a bunch of bad things the band did. Like they were one of the few bands to perform in South Africa while everyone was boycotting it because apartheid was still going on. That wasn't a great decision that they made, but that didn't get brought up in the film at all because that's a negative thing that they did. So basically, most biopics should be like Walk the Line, where it's like, we're doing this about Johnny Cash. Look at how like sucky a person he kind of was. Um, which I guess I have some respect for. But I think my biggest issue with the movie, and it is not the movie's fault, but it feels like every single music biopic that has come out in the last 15 years. I don't necessarily think that's an accident because I think this movie was very big. I think it won. I think I don't know if Joaquin won for acting. I think this was nominated for Best Picture though. So it got some like acclaim for it. Um, so I have to imagine it was pretty influential. I mean, just watching other music biopics, I can definitely see it. Even something like Bohemian Rhapsody, it feels like they were trying to do something like Walk the Line, where it's like, oh, Freddie Mercury, he had a coke problem, but they didn't like completely like full send it. It felt like they weren't willing to like completely show the full picture. Uh, where it's like, yeah, he was like sleeping around with dudes and was like a big party guy, but then like we never saw the actual parties. We never saw him like actually seducing dudes. It was always the aftermath, and it's like, well, that's telling, not showing, not super great. In this movie, we see him take the pills. We see him try to smooch on June Carter 20 times, and she's always like, I don't want you to do that. Please stop doing that. I don't want to kiss you, Johnny Cash. I'm not interested in you. I have two daughters of my own. Please stop trying to propose to me and date me. But he's like, I'll just do it anyway. I'm doing the Elvis. I don't know what Johnny Cash sounds like. Uh, Probably just really deep, which I can't do, as you can probably imagine. But yeah, I will say, I think the ending of this movie has not aged super well. I assume it's what really happened, but also I don't do research and I don't know anything about Johnny Cash. But at the end of the movie, like in the last 5 minutes, June Carter is like, I don't want to be on tour with you anymore, John. You're weird. You woke me up at 2 a.m. and proposed to me while I was in a bus, like a captive. I couldn't go anywhere. I was uncomfortable. I couldn't leave because I was on a moving vehicle. So maybe don't do that. And so Johnny Cash is like, I hear you. Don't worry about it. I won't do it again. And then the next day, they're doing a show, and this is the show before she's going to leave the tour. And he's like, why don't you come on out, June Carter? Let's sing a song. And they get halfway through the song, and then live in front of hundreds of people, he's like, June Carter, will you marry me? And then like starts getting the crowd to chant. And I'm like, this is so fucked. And I think the the movie is supposed to, I think it wants us to think that it's like a sweet moment where he's like getting the girl to get convinced to marry him. It's super weird. I don't know what they're going for because the whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh, this is really messed up that he's like manipulating this woman into marrying him through like peer pressure of hundreds of people on a stage. But she eventually says yes. And then like 2 minutes later, the movie ends and then it does the Chiron thing where it's like, oh, they loved each other until they died. Like this is under completely false pretenses. This is not how a like a good relationship starts, with being pressured into marrying someone live. Felt weird. And the movie, I couldn't tell if it was commending it or condoning it, which is an issue, I think. But I've said enough of the bad things. Now let's talk about the good things. Johnny Cash, played by Joaquin Phoenix, is fantastic. I didn't know that. I mean, I knew Joaquin Phoenix is an all-time actor, but man, he is really, really g-dang good as Johnny Cash, especially since he's doing all the singing in this movie. Again, a kind of comparison to Bohemian Rhapsody. I like Rami Malek a lot. He was not singing, which I think is fine, but I don't know what the point of it is if it's just like playing old Freddie Mercury clips. Um, it doesn't feel like you have anything to say. It just feels like you want a clip show of Freddie Mercury good moments. But with this, it's like, oh, interesting. Like they're actually doing a live performance of Johnny Cash's music. They're like actual covers. Um, and I liked them. I liked the music. I thought it was really, really good. I don't know if Reese Witherspoon is singing all of her parts. I think she is. It sounds like her voice. But again, I'm not going to do research. I'm just going to assume that she also did because it would have been weird if Joaquin Phoenix did it and she didn't. But who knows? They call it Holly Weird for a reason. Or at least I call it that. I don't know. But also, is that oh, it is kind of weird too. The thing about Joaquin Phoenix's performance, at some points it doesn't even look like Joaquin Phoenix because he's wearing contacts, which I had never really noticed that Joaquin Phoenix has piercing blue eyes until they put it in contacts that gave him like really dark brown eyes, and it's off-putting because they didn't do much else to change his appearance. So just changing the eyes, it's like, well, it doesn't really look like Johnny Cash, but also it doesn't really look like Joaquin Phoenix. It was kind of throwing me off, but that's probably a me thing. Uh, is there anything else that's positive about the film? I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I know I spent a little bit of time bashing it, but I'm bashing it out of love or because I liked this movie well enough. I'm not super passionate about it because I feel like I've seen it 700 times. I don't like biopics in general. Maybe I should have started this whole thing by saying that. The only one I like is well, actually, there's a couple. I like Ed Wood, and I like American Splendor. Those are two biopics that I think break the mold and do something interesting with them. Biopics like these, I don't really like a whole lot. Plus, this was my second choice. I was going to do Ray because I wanted to see Jamie Foxx as Ray Charles because I like Jamie Foxx. But instead, I had to watch Walk the Line because Ray was not on anything. So, sorry, Ray Charles. Sorry, Jamie Foxx. But shout out Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon because she is very good in it. She plays sexual harassment victim very well. So I want to give her all the commendations for that. And also a big rest in peace to the real June Carter and maybe Johnny Cash. Don't know much about you, but the movie didn't really put you in my good graces. So I don't know. Don't know enough about the guy. If he was a super chill dude that liked Prisoners, not the film, but the people, I like that. And the fact that he was like willing to perform in prisons while everyone was saying, don't do that. Our target demo is teenage girls. And he said, no, I want to entertain gruff middle-aged dudes, and that's what he did, and I think that's pretty nice. So, yeah, that's Walk the Line, that's Loving You, and it's kind of Mickey 17. That's all I watched this week. Check back next week when I watch another thing. Something nice, perhaps? Hard to say. Also, oh, this is another side thing. Elvis is in this movie. Not actually. Someone playing him. I don't know who is. I should have looked that up. It's Tyler Hilton is playing Elvis Presley, and he does a fantastic job. I don't think he necessarily sounds like Elvis in the vocal department. You don't have to, but he had the mannerisms down. Like the actual performance of the song, like I feel like he completely nailed the moves, nailed how Elvis actually played the guitar and performed, because now I know what that looks like. And I think that he did a very good job. I want to give props to Tyler Hilton, especially since I looked at his IMDb and it seems like he only does Hallmark Christmas movies now. So you do one interesting thing as an actor and then you completely phone it in and cash out, but that's fine with me. That's what Vivica A. Fox does now. She was in Kill Bill, and now she's just in every single Hallmark Christmas movie. And she was in Cool Cat Saves the Kids, which is not helping her in this scenario. It helps in a lot of other scenarios. It gets a lot of street cred for her, but it doesn't quite help the point here. But I think that's it for stuff I watched. That's all I have to say. I'm gonna throw it on over to Babby for his segment of the show, Musica.
Wow. Okay, a lot of ground to cover today, I
Oh
suppose.
boy,
A lot of small stuff and a couple of big things.
really?
Where do we start? I guess announcements and things coming.
Okay.
Bon Iver has 2 singles coming out this week,
Oh,
which I'm not listening to.
yeah, that doesn't seem like a good idea.
Especially since there's only 9 tracks on the new side of the album. There will be 3 singles out for it. So I'm not gonna listen to those, but that's okay. It's fine.
It's fine.
It will not ruin my experience. But that's coming. What else we got? Clipping's new album, Dead Channel Sky, comes out tomorrow as of time of recording. So I will listen to that for next week, and we'll talk about that. I'm excited. Been a while since we've had new Clipping. All right. Playboy Cardi.
What?
Is it going to happen?
Music?
You'll know by the time you're listening to this. Yeah, the album is apparently supposed to come out tonight.
Oh.
Which I have inclinations to believe that is true, since I think there's a label negotiation, because he put up a pre-order so long ago for this album that I think all the pre-orders get returned if the album does not come out by March 14th.
Oh.
So I'm inclined to believe that it will actually come out.
Oh, for better, for worse.
Yeah, we'll see what it is. I'll probably listen to it and see what's happening. Rumored features, a lot of them. I think we have The Weeknd and Future and Metro Boomin and Kendrick Lamar.
So just everybody who was on that Metro and Future.
Everybody that was on the Future Metro record is on this one, apparently.
Okay.
So
nice.
We'll see. But I'm interested to see what a Cardi and Kendrick song sounds like.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, despite Kendrick being on a Cardi record, which I don't really want. Bro went after Drake for being a deadbeat dad and then just hopped on a Playboy Cardi song like that happened. Yeah, it's whatever.
It's weird.
He's a hypocrite. He knows it. It's fine.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, we'll see what's popping with that next week. I don't know what to expect, really. I feel like this thing has been like baking for way too long to be good, but maybe I'll be proven wrong, considering a lot of Cardi's music sounds like you can probably make it within 3 months and put it out. So I don't know what he's gonna do with 5 years, but
I don't know.
Maybe he'll make a radical shift since there hasn't really been any singles or anything for this thing. We have no idea what it's going to be.
He's
So
gonna pull a Lil Yachty, do a
it'll
prog
be
rock album.
crazy. Yeah. Okay. We had the Lady Gaga album come out this week. I
Oh,
have not listened to it yet. Um, just because I'm like, I wasn't in the mood to be like, let me put on that new Lady Gaga. And it's like an hour long. So I'm kind of like, if I'm bored one day and I really want to give it a shot, then I will listen to it. Um, I think Chromatico is pretty solid. But I think this one is more of a dance pop thingy like that. So I might
mhm.
enjoy it, but um, it'll be one on the back burner for me. Um, we also had Ghost Mountain with October Country, first album in 5 years. Um, yeah, I'm debating putting this on the wheel. We'll see. Uh, I did listen to the first track, which is called Molder, and I think it's like genuinely pretty good.
Okay.
um, it's interesting hearing a haunted mound person actually try to make a song and like take himself somewhat seriously. I'm like,
Wow.
wow, okay, there's some prowess here. But I was enjoying it. There was some really cool production choices. It was very like kind of synth poppy in a way, which was very interesting. So might put it on the wheel. I think it might be an interesting one to do, considering it seems like there's actual effort put into this album. So
Wow. You're
that's
sounding
yeah.
like me.
Well, I know how I get the enjoyment out of Haunted Mountains records, and it's not because I think they're taking the music
Oh,
seriously.
okay. I'll
This
take
seems
it.
like it's a genuine like I'm gonna try to make something that sounds good and goes over well and is catchy. So we'll see. I haven't really had any Ghost Mountain experience unless like there's like certain parts on Rainbow Bridge 3 that he's a part of, which I'm sure there is. Um, but I think a lot of haunted bounders are saying this is the best thing since Rainbow Bridge 3. So,
Oh,
but
wow.
in a completely different way, I'm assuming, based off of the first track I heard. But might check that one out. We'll see. Um, and then Paranul came back again under a different name, though. I'm not sure why. If this is a different group, if they're kind of putting Paranul to rest and starting a new thing, I'm not sure. But it's called Heremic. That's the group. Seeking Darkness. It's like an hour long thingy thing. Post rock, I'm sure. This like just came out today, so I might give it a listen over the next week and talk about it. Um, I've enjoyed a lot of Paranormal stuff. It gets a little samey after you've heard the third record of his, which is kind of still in that shoegaze post rock kind of combo. But people go crazy for this stuff. It's pretty solid. I'm not gonna like glaze it. It's good stuff though when it comes to like modern shoegaze. So might check that out eventually. Um, okay, big hitters. This week is pretty much all rap stuff, besides one exception that we might spend the most time on, honestly. Um,
Okay.
we got two album announcements. There was a breaking news alert at the last end of the last podcast, and we didn't get one announcement. We got two. So, first one, Prem Rock is back. These are both Backwoods albums.
Mm.
Prem Rock is back. This is gonna be his first solo album in when did his last one come out? I feel like it was definitely a while ago. Um, yeah, Load Bearing Crow's Feet, 2021, which is a very solid album and very underrated. He's been doing a lot of stuff as a group with Shrapnel, but this is his first solo album in 4 years. It'll be "Did You Enjoy Your Time Here?" Question mark. Um, it seems like this is his first solo one where they're actually putting budget behind him too, which I think is going to be very interesting because I do think he's just underrated in the entire landscape. Um, Reminds me more of like an LP kind of guy, early 2000s underground New York weirdo rap, um, which I'm a big fan of. But yeah, the production and feature list on this album looks absolutely stacked. In terms of like features and stuff, we got Cavalier, we got Elucid, we got Billy Woods, Curly Castro, as you know, obviously. Um, and then Pink Sifu, and then production credits. We got like Controller 7 and Child Actor and Blockhead and Seb Bash and a whole bunch of just insane producers, which I'm super excited for. So I think this is going to be a heavy hitter and one that's going to be really underrated. So I'm talking about it now, and I will probably keep talking about it.
There you
It
go.
comes out next week on the 21st. So it'll be a couple weeks before I get to talk about it on the podcast, but it's coming out soon. And I'm very excited for it. There was a single that came out, Steel Wool, with Pink Sifu, and then Seb Bash on production. And the song is fantastic. Like, it feels, the beat is insane. It feels so fleshed out. Um, Prem Rock and Pink Sifu go very well together, actually, which I guess shouldn't be a surprise because Curly Castro kind of fits in that same lane of like abstractive, kind of eccentric flow and voice. Um, but this beat is so good, and Pemrock is just doing some amazing things on top of it. His flow is so kind of calm and calculated, but really good. And he has a really good way of like weaving language together too. I think he's just like a really witty, kind of clever rapper when it comes to that, which I always enjoy. Um, it's one of those where it's like he's kind of going, and you can kind of pick up on the lines like a bar after, and you're like, oh, that was smart. Which is a nice change of pace considering a lot of the backwoods people are like very, very, very layered and complex and abstract with a lot of their language. So it's a nice contrast. But yeah, that's coming out soon. I will be talking about it extensively in a couple weeks because it's going to be pretty good. I think, based off of all the stuff I'm seeing from features and everything. So, and the single sounding great. I think it's his most like kind of buttoned up, produced track I've heard from his solo work at least. But yeah, that was the I don't want to say smaller backwoods announcement, but it was the smaller backwoods announcement because Billy Woods did announce his solo album,
Oh,
which I was kind of expecting based off of the little teaser we had at the end of last podcast. Um, yeah, I think this is gonna be an album for sure. It comes out May 9th, so we have to wait a little bit for it. Um, I'm still I'm still not sure if I can even say the album title. Um, so you can look it up for yourself. The jury's still out on which I'm and if I'm comfortable saying what this album is going to be called. Um, but it is a the title and the cover is based off of those like blackface dolls that I feel like we were just talking about this a week or two ago,
yeah.
which is so crazy. Yeah, it's one of those. Starts with a G.
Yeah, I
It's one
see
of
that.
those blackface dolls that were used in like children's books and stuff in like the early 1900s, um, which is striking to say the least. And then the cover art for the album is just brilliant. Alexander Richter does such a fantastic job with all these covers. It is a striking cover. um, yeah, I think we're going deep with this album. Yeah, let's get to producer and uh and feature list here. First of all, it's 18 tracks and 52 minutes, which I think will make his longest solo album,
Mm.
if I'm not mistaken. But in terms of features, we have Bruiser Wolf, fantastic. Despot, Elucid, El Divino, which I am not too aware of, but people are going crazy over that. So I will see what the hype about is that there. And we got like three Elucid features on this thing too. And then Yolanda Watson as well, which I think is a singer songwriter. And then in terms of production, it's a mixing pot of all the best he kind of has at his arsenal. So you got Steel Tip Dove, Conductor Williams, which will be fantastic. A couple Kenny Segal's Preservation, thank God. An Alchemist beat, an LP beat, a Shabaka Hutchings with DJ Haram beat, a Jeff Markey beat, Messiah Music beat. Yeah, it is absolutely stacked for anybody that is kind of into the underground. This feels like a culmination of all the latest and greatest that have kind of been bubbling up down there. And I think as Backwoods and Billy Woods in general are gaining more traction, we're able to kind of like mesh all of these minds a little bit better. So this feels stacked. And there's a lot of people that are kind of close to Backwoods that like your open Mike Eagles and all those that kind of like are in the culture as kind of podcasters and writers and stuff for this kind of underground movement have all been kind of like hinting at this album for a couple of weeks, saying that like it's over, like this is the album of the year and nobody's gonna even get close to it. Um, so there's a lot of buzz already from the people that have heard it, and coming off of Maps, which kind of made him like blow up a lot more than a lot of his other albums has. Like since Hiding Places, I think this was his next like biggest step. Um, I think we're gonna have a real heater on our hands, and I think it's gonna be twisted and insane. This is also coming out on Rhymesayers, which is interesting. So kind of like the meshing of these two like underground labels, like Rhymesayers being like a legendary kind of abstract hip hop label. Um,
Mm.
but they had a great write up for it. So the new album is a haunting collection that weaves horror, humor, surrealism, and Afro pessimism into a cinematic tapestry aided and abetted by a murderer's row of producers.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it's. Oh, I'm so excited. Um, we did get a single though, "Misery," with Kenny Segal in production, and it is phenomenal. It is so good. Um, it's an interesting choice for a single because it is in your face and fast and loud and kind of like to the point. Um, but with Wood's songs, I have been kind of out of the loop since 2023, since there hasn't been anything from him really. Since then, I just forget how layered everything is immediately. Misery is a Stephen King book, and there's a whole bunch of layers to it in terms of just the title and the subject matter, and then the album as a whole. So yeah, but it sounds crazy. He's doing a lot of cool things. He's got a lot of a looser flow on this chorus, which is really unique for him, and it's sounding really great. Some vocal samples and stuff, and I think there's a Doom sample. Kenny Segal is flipping on here as well. So
hmm.
this will probably be the album to end albums for me this year. So everybody else is gonna have their time to shine for a little bit, since all the other ones that I'm really excited about are coming out in later this month and in April. So I think this is the first big May one, right before Swans, I believe, which comes out I think May 10th actually. So it's gonna be a big day for annoying people. There's a lot of those every year. Yeah. Oh, May 30th is birthing. Okay, so I have a little bit of time to breathe with this. Um, I think the end of May is kind of stacked as well, but very excited for this. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I've been looking forward to what he's doing next. I think it's going to be the complete opposite of Maps, which I'm a fan of. Liking, I'm the biggest fan of stuff like Aethiops and stuff. I think the single's kind of sounding like an Aethiops and Terror Management kind of blend, which I am so down for. So, yeah, that was the big dog. Then we got two albums to talk about. One came out this week. One did not come out this week. Um, we'll talk about the one that came out this week first. I This is gonna turn into a rant, and I don't want it to. This is a new album by brand new artists that like only has this album out and nothing else, and I don't know anything else about them. But it's Hesse Cassell. It's called La Brea. Uh, it's a Chilean post rock group.
Okay.
But yeah, this album came out and everybody was kind of like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." So I kind of checked it out. It's an hour and 20 minutes, so it's a long one. Um, I have a lot of issues with it. I think the production is very good, like all the instruments and stuff, and the playing and everything sounds great. And I think that's a really good thing to like. It's still enjoyable to listen to in a lot of parts, and I think it's you know. And if you haven't heard anything else in the genre or adjacent, I think you're gonna like really love this thing. Um, but yeah, people are like, "Oh my god, it's like Chilean Black Country New Road." Um, I'm like, "Okay,
Oh.
cool. That's a cool like piece to kind of introduce me of like what this is gonna sound like." But no, this is almost imitation. I think
Oh.
it's it's so incredibly close that I'm also like I was not really able to enjoy it that much because of how similar it was. There's a moment on I think En Tiempo Muerto, I think, that there's a guitar riff that comes in that sounds the exact same as track X, like the opening guitar riff of that song. It is almost one to one, and I'm like, wow, uh, that's interesting.
Hmm.
All the instruments that they're playing are the same. There's a saxophone and there's a little bit of violin, and then there's the usual kind of band setup you have with the drumming and the guitar and bass. So they kind of have the exact same cast of instruments. The movements and the way the songs progress is almost exactly the same. It's more of a blend of both the first Black Country New Road albums, rather than one or the other, but it does tap on both like heavily to the point where I'm like, certain sections literally sound ripped out of certain songs. I could pick out Bread Song, Chaos Space Marine, Track X, and Athens, France throughout this album, which I should not be able to do. Um,
Oh.
yeah, it's kind of bordering on imitation. I know people are going crazy for it, but like, I don't know how people could go crazy for it when it's just like another version of a song you've already heard before. And a lot of you don't speak Spanish, so you don't even know what he's saying. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And then like the last two tracks, he takes a turn. In like the first half of like A La Tour is kind of cool. It does sound very much like Science Fair, but has a little bit of that more Latin American kind of rock guitar sound, which I enjoy. I love that kind of flair that that adds, but that kind of goes away pretty quickly and just kind of gets eaten up by influences again. They do a full Swans ending on both of the last songs, which I'm like, okay, you're already borrowing from Black Country, and then you do a Swans one, and you don't do it in a particularly well way. It's kind of derivative where you just kind of bang on your instruments for 5 minutes. There's not an understanding of the momentum and tension that Swans uses to kind of make those moments special. So I was kind of like, all right, I'm kind of rolling my eyes at that. And then the last track is very much so that it's like, let's put some screaming on there and let's make the guitars sound evil and repetitive like a Swan song. And that, I don't know. The production and the playing and everything is very good. Knowing that this is probably a brand new artist, I don't think this is a bad place to start, but I do think you need to find a personality very quickly. Um, because I'm catching it right now, but I think more people will continue to catch it if you keep releasing music that is like this similar to your contemporaries. I
Mhm.
think I have an issue with that in general, just because like we've seen the Phoebe clones everywhere. That's
Yes.
fine. Seeing like a Black Country New Road clone this close is kind of insane. It feels like a music nerd that like learned how to make music and then didn't really have the creative force to kind of burst out of the influence bubble. It's kind of eaten by its influences and not just like influenced by them like it probably should be. Um, so maybe I'm wrong, but like I was able to pick out so many things where I'm like this should not be this close, and there's a little bit of a uh, not good feeling when I'm like, ooh, this should not sound this similar to another group. Granted, that version of Black Country New Road will never exist again, so I guess it's kind of free game. But at the same time, it's like do something different with that, and don't just like rehash those past two albums in a different language and call it like my album.
Right.
But I didn't understand any of the lyrics, so the writing and everything could be really great. But I don't speak Spanish, so I'm no help there. The vocals are kind of grating at some points, but kind of good at others. I think like the first track, it is very fast spoken Spanish, and it doesn't like really flow over the track. So I think there's just like a language barrier with that one. And I'm kind of like, this feels choppy. Um, but he does have some kind of vocal chops, and I do kind of enjoy it. He also sounds like Isaac at some points too. Like he's intentionally kind of stretching out his voice like that, and that kind of
Mm,
depressed monotone. And I'm like, come on,
yeah, don't do
you
that.
you can do something else. Um, it's like Isaac fled to Chile and like released this album. um, yeah, so I mean, check it out if you're into kind of like this post rock art rock thing. But I mean, I didn't get a lot out of it. I'm kind of in the minority with that. But also, album of the year, it kind of just goes crazy when they hear anything kind of similar to that kind of thing. Same with the pure paranormal stuff, where it's like any kind of like sound that's similar to those kind of albums, people are going to go crazy for. But I don't really find a lot of depth or anything really interesting or genuine a lot about most of this stuff. So, yeah, I expected to go on to like it, but I just got an imitation album. So I got the great value hands from up there, which I didn't really enjoy. So,
Wow.
um, but the playing and everything is great. So I didn't like bomb the review of it or anything. I still have it in the 70s. It's just like you need to find a sound for yourself because the playing and everything you're doing is fantastic, and it does take musical knowledge to have long songs like this. All the songs are the shortest song is 6 minutes, so like carrying a song with that momentum does take some skill, and you definitely have that. But like, I need to hear your personality and not someone else's. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting album, very interesting. I'm just like, this is such a weird release first off, and then such a weird thing that it's like rated this high. um, but I'm sure that'll even out. I don't know if Fantano's going to review, but I'm sure he will probably have the same criticisms that I do if he ever picks this thing up, which is pretty underground right now, so I don't think he will.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, Fantano has a lot of influence on this site, surprisingly, despite how many people say like they hate him. Whenever he rates an album lower than like a high rated
Yeah.
album, the score instantly plummets by like 6 points. So
Yeah,
it's,
because
it's
there's
an
so many
interesting.
Fantano dick riders out there, but they aren't like loud about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's all even fallen off a lot though too. Like
Yeah.
in like 2015 to 2020, it was like annoying.
Yeah.
Like they were just spewing his opinions back at you. I feel like people have gotten a little bit more smart about how they even go about finding music and listening to music.
Yeah.
But
Now they
Yeah.
all listen to NFR podcast.
NFR podcast.
I love those French
Okay.
Canadian queens.
Yeah, exactly. Um, all right. Let's talk about an album that came out in 2016. I'm continuing my Ka journey because
Mm.
this man is brilliant. I've just been really, really, really listening to Descendants of Cain since the beginning of this year, and it's just like getting better and better and better every time I listen to it. He's just the lines are insane. Just the lyrics and everything are fantastic. So I've done Thief Next to Jesus. I'm going backwards, kind of. Thief Next to Jesus. I jumped over to Descendants of Cain. He's got like three in between that are kind of like smaller releases. But then Honor Killed the Samurai is the next one, which is 2016. And this was the one that kind of broke him out the most. This was kind of his most popular work. I think before Herman the Recluse, because that one's pretty popular as well. Um, yeah, this thing is great. It's all of his albums have been very great. There's like subtle kind of changes through all of them. Like if you're not too into like the abstract kind of drumless hip hop area, a lot of these might kind of sound the same, but the production style he has and everything is like very distinct. Thief Next to Jesus having this great gospel influence, Descendants of Cain having this really like kind of, I don't know, it has like an 80s like almost rock like movie score ish kind of sound to it. It's very interesting. Um, and then Honor Kill the Samurai has these great like samurai movie samples and a lot of the kind of samurai things you would expect from an instrumental, like these crazy kind of nice woodwind hits and those ominous kind of like bells and things. It's really, really cool. Um, and I haven't had a lot of time. I just listened to it today, so I haven't had a lot of time to dig into like lyrical stuff because as blunt as his songs are kind of built, where like it is mostly drumless, and he has this like not monotone, but very just like in your face kind of flow for the whole track. It's he at least I like how he slows down and has a really nice, calm, like calculated pace because you're able to really pick up on a lot of stuff. But I have not even begun to like dig into the layers of a lot of this stuff. But it's brilliant. Like it's just so rewarding to listen to. It's a mixture of like when you read a good book that has a lot of flowery language, but you kind of understand it as you go. I feel like I'm like just really getting it as I continue to go throughout the album.
Mm.
And the instrumentals do just enough to like hold him up in his subject matter, which is great. Um, and I think Descendants of Cain is probably my favorite production out of his so far, but I am really enjoying the sounds of this album on first listen. I do like the subtle hints of these kind of like samurai movies from 70s 80s. It's not like over the top or gimmicky at all. It's blended very nicely with these kind of more eerie instrumentals that he has here. Um, there was one song where I'm like that first verse literally just like I had to stop the song and be like, oh my god. There, it's one of those things where you can just kind of tell someone's locked in and the entire verse kind of ties everything together and every single reference ties onto the next line and it was just like insanity. um I think that song was Finer Things, which was like second to last. Uh, but yeah, it's a really fantastic album. I'll have a lot more to say about it as I continue to listen to it because a lot of his concepts and themes are very, very, very tightly knit. Like even when I talked about Descendants of Cain that week, I did not even scratch the surface on how well connected all of these songs are to uh, the like base subject matter of Cain and Abel, and how that interweaved into every single little song and pocket and everything of that album. Um, yeah, I think this man will forever be underrated, despite like getting the unfortunate boost of like listeners after you pass away. Um,
Mm.
I still think he's going to be underrated. I don't think he's going to be like a Doom type figure where he already kind of had a level of prominence and then kind of got pushed really far because of that. But I mean, there's no better time to start than now with this guy because man, I was like sleeping for so long. I listened to Thief Next to Jesus like 3 months before he died, and I'm like, oh my god, why does this keep happening? Like it's just gorgeous, amazing, thoughtful music. It's so good. Um, trying to find that string of lines I was looking for. I can't really see it right now, but yeah. Oh, it might be up here actually. Um, We'll see. We'll see. It's a whole verse. I'm not gonna be able to say this without messing up, but it's great. "Finer Things" is my favorite song on off of this thing, especially that first verse. It is incredible. He made like a Public Enemy reference um, after like a whole string of references, kind of tying all of these themes together, like starting from biblical to like drug dealing to carrying a firearm to all of these different things. It's just insane. And then I think "I Wish" Death Poem, the outro, is also phenomenal. He knows how to do an outro well. I think "I Love" off of Descendants of Cain might be my favorite track from him. But this outro is just as impactful. I think it's fantastic. So I have a lot to kind of sit with and parse through with this album, which I really enjoy. A lot of his albums, like literally, it's like kind of reading a novel from like uh, back in the day, a more classic one. Just his language and the kind of pacing he goes at feels very much like a not academic but old style of doing it, which I really enjoy. Um, it's a nice change of pace. Like I think if you're into underground and kind of abstract hip hop, you'll definitely see the uniqueness in this. This might kind of blend into the background for a lot of people that are not as familiar, but I think the people that are really into this stuff will just gain so much from listening to this kind of stuff. So
Hmm.
definitely recommend. I can't even give a score to it or anything right now because I'm just like I need to listen to this like 4 or 5 more times, um, which I always enjoy. The most challenging albums are the ones that reward me the most, and then those are the ones that stick with me forever. So, um, yeah, I have a couple of ways to go after this. I do think I'm very interested in this Dr. Yen Lo album, which is like a little offshoot he did of the Preservation. I love Preservation so much, so I feel like I might go there because his production style is incredible. Um, that's a very conceptual album. Like the song titles are not really anything prescriptive at all. So that might be a very difficult one to get into. But there's also the Hermit and the Recluse album, or Orpheus versus the Sirens, which is his mythology based concept album, which I think will be really good. So I love me some. I love me some mythology kind of tie-ins with stuff. I always think that stuff is very cool, um, and I think Ka might be the perfect person to kind of weave modern street life with tales of ancient mythology and gods. I think that would be insane. So, um,
Sure.
yeah, definitely keeping going on this journey because it is just there's so much you get out of this stuff. It's very sad listening to a lot of it, obviously, but like the absolute sheer talent and knowledge of like how to tie concepts together and just the insane amount of clever like rhymes and lines are just insane. Like it took me a while to get The Thief Next to Jesus because it does kind of fall into the more mundane category if you're not like really listening to it or like used to that kind of thing. But once you are, it's like every single line will just punch you over and over and over again. So fantastic. So check it out. I think that's all I have for this week. Um, big hip hop week. A lot of great hip hop week. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I will be talking about a couple albums next week. Talk about Playboy Cardi probably and whatever
Nice.
transpires with that. Um, and yeah, that's it.
That's awesome, dude. I love Playboy Cardi.
Me too.
Nice. I haven't listened to Dial It since we did that video.
Yeah, I forgot we did dial in on the channel. That was a while ago. Um,
Yeah, it was probably our first video, I think.
it was definitely at the earlier part of the channel. Let me find it. Oh yeah, there it is. When was this? February 14th, 2022, Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see. Uh, that was on my second winning playlist. And right now now I'm on 13 because the one we
Yeah.
just recorded was 12.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a hot minute.
It's a solid album.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I've
I
ever
enjoy it.
listened to
It's fun.
it.
It was 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
I just don't remember.
No idea.
Whenever I think of Playboy Cardi, I think of him on Donda. That's really the only thing I think of.
That's kind of the last thing he's done with any sort of prominence, so makes sense.
What about Timeless? It's the biggest song ever.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
It was a good feature, I think, but like
Yeah, that
he
song's
doesn't
grown
got
on
the
me a little
sauce
bit.
anymore.
No, no.
I enjoy it. I think Pharrell did amazing on that beat, but
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's not like the best weekend song ever, but I think it's pretty good. That's about as high a praise I can give it, I think.
yeah.
But um I don't think I've listened to a whole lot. I did listen to Salt by Half Moon Run. This was
Oh, I was literally gonna recommend that to you.
that was an album that your girlfriend recommended to
Yes.
me when
Okay,
y'all
she
were
did
in
say
town.
it.
I finally got around to listening to it, and it is very, very good. It's
Yeah, it's right up your
odd.
alley.
It's odd because you've listened to it, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. It feels like Noah Khan meets In Rainbow's Radiohead.
Hmm.
And I can't get that out of my head. Where now it's like you can especially hear it in the opening track, You Can Let Go. Like that
Hmm.
feels like I feel like is it Weird Fishes? I'm trying to think. It sounds like a song
Yeah,
off in
they do a lot
Rainbows.
of arpeggio stuff. That's very similar.
Yeah, which I don't mind. I think it's an interesting sound.
Hmm.
But also, one of the vocalists sounds exactly like the guy from 21 Pilots, and that was also throwing me
He
off.
does. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that is uncanny. um, but I did really, really like it. I listened to it a couple days ago, and I've been listening to it, every day. It's really, really nice. I don't know if there's like I see that like their 2013 album has like their biggest songs on it, so I
Hmm.
don't know if that's a good place to go from here. But I just listened to their most recent one, so I don't know if there's any other good stuff out there. But
Yeah, I think they're pretty consistent.
okay.
Um, I know they did some soundtrack stuff with Assassin's Creed, so that's probably where
Oh,
the popularity in certain parts come from.
I love
Um,
Assassin's Creed.
I think their first album is probably the next best one.
Okay, so it's their most recent one and their first one.
Yeah, those are the ones that I've heard at least,
Okay, okay,
and they're both pretty solid. It's very like easy listening, nice, just like it sounds good.
it does sound good. Yeah, I think this album there's a little bit of a slump in the middle, but I
Hmm.
think overall it's pretty G dang solid. I wouldn't change a thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's pretty good, pretty G
Hmm.
dang good even.
Real.
Yeah.
I think
Uh,
I think someone recommended their first album a while ago, so it might be in my wheel somewhere actually.
oh, okay. Then I won't listen to it right now,
Okay.
just in case. I did listen to the first couple of songs on Neil Young's new album because I can't
Oh,
believe
yeah.
that this guy is still making music.
Yeah.
um, and while it wasn't as good as what he was making 50 years ago, he still got it. Like his voice really hasn't changed a whole lot, which I was like shocked by. Like I thought that, over time your voice like lowers, gets more gravelly and rough. He already had that, but it was like high gravelly and rough. It's weird. So he kind of just like sounds the same. And it sounds like I don't know. They were like pretty good, the songs I heard. Um, and I don't know who that is on the cover. I assume it's probably him, but I can't tell
Yeah,
without
I
his
was so
crazy
confused on what
eyes.
this was because it's like I feel like that picture was taken 30 years ago. So
Oh,
I'm like,
probably
is
more
this new
than that.
music or old music or
I don't know. I, I just got it recommended. Wait, did you hear about it? Like,
Oh yeah.
oh,
I didn't listen to it, but I know it came out. So I'm like, is this a new material or
people still talk about like stuff when he drops.
I think it's more like a why did Neil Young release an album?
Oh, well, he's like been consistently releasing music. He had two albums come out last year.
Yeah, he's got a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And he did what is his album with Crazy Horse? Barn. Man, that is like I remember
Oh
seeing
yeah, I
that in
forgot
the
about
record
Barn.
store like
Hmm.
all over the place. That came out 4 years ago. And he's had uh 12 or no 11 albums come out since then. That's crazy. That's like little B numbers.
It's who he aspires to be.
Probably. Neil Young wants to be the bass god. I don't blame him.
Pretty cool guy.
Yeah. Especially because he likes underage girls' feet.
Is that Lil B?
Yeah, I think so. Remember
I
that
can
whole
never tell with
thing?
Lil B. Well, I can never tell with Lil B because like his entire thing seems like one of those very, very like high performance art
Yeah.
type things. So I can never tell what's real or not
I don't know.
regarding anything
It was
surrounding him.
it was weird. I mean,
Although
you
I do
know that
think
he was
I
like
do think
requesting
I
feet pics.
remember. Yes.
Yes. He was requesting feet pics from girls, and then he had I think it might have been on his main Instagram. He was just reposting them. And it was like a thing he was trying to say that it was like I want to like promote beauty or something on his page, but he was like specifically asking for feet pics from girls with like I love Lil B written on their souls or
Oh
something.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
it turned out that like a couple of those girls came out and was like I was 16 and he like posted that picture of me.
Why'd you send him your feet?
That's a good question. But then he did an AMA, and I think that's where like
Oh
the
yeah,
famous Lil
yeah.
BM AMA, where people are asking him questions about like, hey, why didn't you ask the girls if they were of age when you got pictures from them? And then he would just like not answer it and like just like avoid the question, and then like he would respond to other questions just being like, hey, I came on here to answer some stuff but nobody's asking questions that apply to this situation. Why aren't people asking me questions about this? It was weird. But shout out to Face God.
The based god.
He's probably the best rapper.
That is true.
Yeah. Do you think anyone
He made
would
emotion popular
I don't know. I don't know
in
about
the
that.
states.
I guess. Do you think that anybody would unironically say that Lil B is the best rapper ever?
um, I feel like you get to a certain section of hip hop head who's very into underground and the more abstract people like Doze One, where they'll actually be like, Lil B's really phenomenal. I've run into some people where like those kind of artists like they praise as like the highest form of art.
Huh.
It's a very small subsect of people, but I feel like you go far enough into the rabbit hole, you come out the other end with like a very warped perception on what you think is good or not.
I could see that.
It's one of those you hear everything, so like the based god is the thing that is truly unique out of all of it. So you're just like, that's the best.
That's true. He does have some of the best album covers. I'll say
It
that.
is true. It is true.
This one that came out last year is interesting. The Book of
Uh,
Flame.
yeah, that is pretty sick.
I don't know if sick is the word that I would use. It's like the font is like the Dragon Ball Z font, I think.
That's pretty sick.
And then there's just like the same picture of there's like 3 gem pictures that he found, and then he just like
Mhm.
pasted them all over the album.
I'm glad he's keeping that look alive.
Yeah, that's true.
I think his 2023 Bitch Mob, that album is pretty great.
Oh, really? That one's the craziest album cover
That's
yet.
insane.
That's like what's that 21 Savage album?
Yeah.
I forget what.
Freaking Savage Mode
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I think
or
so.
2.
Savage Mode 2.
Yeah. The I'm Gay, I'm Happy cover is phenomenal though.
I'm
Just
gay.
in general, that album and the cover and everything is that's good.
I'm gay. When did this come out?
That's
Tw-
an old one. That was like 2011.
Oh. Oh yeah, I'm gay. I'm happy. Oh, interesting. What's interesting about this album cover is that if you told me that it was made by AI, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, the thing is, it's a Martin Gaye reference because "I Want You" has like the same kind of thing.
Oh, is that
So
right?
then he made an album called "I'm Gay, but I'm Happy." But there's layers to this because "I'm Gay" could be Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, that is his name. That's a little known fact.
Just some interesting history.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is interesting. Oh yeah, it's like the same art style.
Yeah.
That is huh. That is interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Lil B probably is the best rapper then,
Hmm.
I think. I do think
I
it's
think so.
funny that Marvin Gaye's real name is spelled Gay. And then
Hmm.
the record company said, actually,
Maybe he was referencing that.
actually, your name is messed up. Let's add an E. Then people won't
No, no,
think you're
no.
a
This is all wrong.
homosexual. Your name is still gay.
You're
If
not
you
gonna make it far in this industry, kid.
We're gonna need to change everything. We're gonna add an E to your last name that doesn't actually change how it's pronounced. So if you don't see it written down, people are going to assume that there isn't an E there until they see an
And here's
album
5
cover.
PR lines you can respond to them with
That's
that will
true.
save your image.
It's weird. It's a little odd, if you ask me. But he is the GOAT, some would say.
It's true.
I would say.
I'll put it on record.
Yeah, I'll say it. One of the GOATs.
Yeah.
Speaking of, you didn't talk about Lil Nas X.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I kind of moved. I think as a society we moved past Lil Nas X, but maybe that's just me.
He waited too long, I think.
I think he did.
Yeah. Man, Montero came out in 2021.
Hmm.
What are you doing, Lil Nas X? Why were
I
you
like kind
waiting
of
so
left him
long?
in COVID. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad.
I'm glad he had kind of achieved like the "I'm not a one hit wonder. I'm gonna make a pretty solid album," but then
Mhm.
he kind of just disappeared. So
Yeah. He made J Christ, and then everyone got upset at him, even though
for
it was
some
the
reason,
same thing that he did for the Montero
yeah,
song. But it's different now because,
yeah.
yeah, so. Um, I would like to see Lil Nas X on the new Vultures album, Vultures 3.
At this point, why not?
That's my anticipated. I
The
want
features are gonna be Lil Nas X and Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes. Oh no.
That's it.
And then just like completely out of left field, it's the war on drugs.
They've been gone for a minute. Time to show up on a Kanye record
It's about damn
after
time.
doubling down on the Nazism. They're like, now's our chance. We're in. Nobody else wants to do it. I'll take the spot.
He needs someone and we can be that person.
Yeah, he's going for his psychedelic rock revival.
That would be interesting.
I would like to not hear that.
He did say, "Oh, you don't listen to Ye, go listen to Lil Yachty bitch" on one of the Vulture songs.
I don't remember.
There's like a thing.
Probably so.
I think it was on the song that he was mumbling over, where he kind of got stuck in like, "Your bitch wants to listen to Drake, go," or "You don't want to listen to Ye, go listen to Drake, bitch. Don't want to listen to Ye, go listen to Future, bitch." It was just like that over and over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he brought up Lil Yachty in that,
Gotcha.
so he is slightly jealous of Lil
Isn't it
Yachty.
kind of crazy how Lil Yachty hasn't really like done much, but his name has been in so many people's mouths last year. Like
Yeah,
Kanye, Kendrick brought him up, and then
that's
he was kind
true.
of like inserted into that whole thing. I don't know. That's interesting.
Just because he works with
Oh,
Drake
but
or worked
yeah.
with Drake,
Hmm.
I guess. I don't know if he's really done anything with Drake recently.
Well, I think they went to a WWE event and both of them were there. So
Oh, did they go
together,
together? Or,
like a cute couple. Yeah.
oh, okay. I was like, did they go? Or were they just both at the same event?
No, yeah, they were next to each other.
Okay. Yeah, because he had an album that came out after the psych rock album, didn't he?
Yeah, he had that one with James Blake, which I didn't really like.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Took all the good parts of his psychedelic rock album and then just became boring again. But then had James Blake try to like pick up the slack.
I don't
Didn't
know.
work.
That psych rock album's awesome though. I love it.
It's really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I listened to it like a couple months ago. I'm like, this holds up. This is
Hmm.
a good time. You should just,
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna kind of be stuck as like this came out this year and it was kind of a like, whoa, look what he
probably.
did. But it's still fun. I think it's just kind of aged poorly, but
Yeah.
in terms of like longevity, but I think it's a fun little novelty thing.
Uh, I don't know. I think there's more to it than like, because like speeding bullet to heaven is like completely novelty and no one likes it and it's aged
Oh yeah,
poorly.
because it sucks.
Yeah, but this at least like there's really
Oh
good
yeah, this
like
sounds
music
good.
and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Like Magdalena Bay was working on the production for a lot of it, so
Yeah.
it's like
And then
really
took
really
the
solid.
same beat and made a better song on their album.
Yeah, I
They're
don't
both pretty
know.
good.
I don't. I do. I like them both. That's the one song I think I've heard on that album all the way through.
Hmm. I'm like, wait a minute, why does this sound so familiar?
Yeah, that's why. The Black Seminole. That's a
Yeah.
good song. Listen to The Black Seminole by Lil Yachty if you've not heard it.
Over and over and over and over.
Yes.
Bought the streams.
Bot the streams. Support Lil Yachty because he's an artist that supports AI like we do here at the
Yeah.
Boy Time Podcast.
Hmm. I will say that's the only AI cover I kind of defend.
Oh, I defend that cover 100%.
Yeah, I think artistically it makes sense.
Yes, it does. 100%. Yeah, I think that's the only acceptable use of AI art that I can think of.
Especially since his music videos for the album like play into the AI art on the cover. Like everybody's
Mm.
faces are all mangled in the videos.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, I think it's, dare I say, I think it's brilliant the way he used it. Like actually.
Yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah. I'll go that far and I'm willing to put my career on the
I
line.
think it's brilliant in the terms of like nobody else has been able to successfully kind of do that
Yeah.
without it being stupid. Like, why did
Right.
you do this?
Well, people were like, that was a conversation when the album came out, was like,
It
is this
was, yeah.
fine to do? I think, I don't know at the time if I would have said, like, it's great, but I'm
I did
saying
when
it
it came
now.
out. I was, yeah. I think I stand on even more just based off of how this stuff is unfolding, which is
Yeah.
stupid, but
It is kind of funny to look at that and then compare it to what AI looks like now,
oh yeah.
where it is like the faces aren't as messed up as they
Yeah,
were.
you can still tell they're fake though. Now you just got like an underlying sense of dread whenever you look at an AI image. Like you can just tell it is, and it's just like ooh, it's like makes my skin crawl. There's something off-putting about a lot of it still,
Yeah,
which I guess is
everything's
good. I think there's something in our brains that are just like that's not right, like our animal
yeah.
brains.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, it is a little sad when you just like search an animal on Google Images and it's all like AI pictures of the animal. It's not even
Yeah,
real. Like I
I
won't.
can't even like find stock imagery for work because like half of the stock images on the sites now are AI. So even when
Oh
you're buying images, it's like it's AI images.
no, that's messed up. Just tell the computer to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just describe what the AI picture you're going to buy is, and then just type that into the
Yeah,
prompt.
and the name of the image is the prompt they use. You can literally just steal the prompt and put it into whatever thing you're
Oh,
doing.
well, there you go. You can't. Can you copyright something that is created by AI?
No,
No.
but at the same time, the AI will never spit out the exact image it's ever like spat out allegedly. If you use the same prompt over and over and over again, it'll always be slightly different.
Mm, mm. Well, I'm just asking, like, if a brand such as McDonald
Hmm.
put in Big Ronald Donald cheeseburger meal into AI, and then it pops out an image. Could they then trademark and copyright that image so that if anyone uses it, they get sued by the big D?
Mm, that's where everybody's like, "What do we do?" I yeah, it's starting to like. There's a lot of these companies are starting to actually use AI imagery now,
Mm,
so I think it's going to get very messy very soon. It
yes,
all looks horrible too. So
it does. Yeah, I uh, I have a serious critique for the entire Native American community, if you would allow me to say this.
great. Yeah, let me be a full representative.
I want to make a sweeping claim against the entire Native American community because there's one casino that is around here. I don't remember which one it is because I have not lived here for very long, but they use AI in all of their advertising that I deliver to people.
Uh-huh.
And it's like I don't know. I don't understand why they didn't just take two pictures outside of their casino because it's like two AI people in front of generic looking casino. And like the fingers are messed up. And like the guy, I don't think it's like bad enough to where he has like two pupils, but like his eyes are messed up and it's like very clearly AI. And I'm like, just get a camera and get two people. They don't even have to be professional models because you're advertising to Minnesota bumfucks. So just you know, just have two people in front of the casino and take a picture. Doesn't seem that hard.
Yeah,
So
it's dumb.
that's the
Like every new like oh, it's the same thing with like every new like restaurant that pops up and even on the delivery apps and everything, all the food is AI. Like there's no
oh yeah.
real pictures of the food, which for me is like I'm never ordering from you because like
Oh yeah.
I can't deal with the fake food you're trying to sell me. Like I don't know what
Absolutely.
it looks like. I'm not trusting this.
Yeah. How is that any different than like what Sprite does in their ads where they like it's all fake
Well,
or
that's food styling. So they make it look appetizing and it's like it has to be based on their product a certain amount before you
yeah.
get to like I can sue you territory
Oh sure. Yeah.
because that has happened.
Yeah,
But
you can't advertise
there's
a 3 patty burger and give them a 1 patty
yeah.
burger.
But there's an art to food styling and food coloring and stuff, like all that kind of stuff. AI is just like I think especially with AI food, it's very grotesque looking.
Well, yeah. Because
Even when
computers
it
don't
looks
eat.
very exactly. Even when it's like very similar to a one-to-one object of food, you can tell it's fake and it's like gross.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, but I like AI though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Pretty cool.
I think so.
I'm glad we're using it in the best way physically possible.
Yeah. What I like about AI and maybe the people that are working on it is that you can tell that they're all mature grown-ups that
Hmm.
aren't just having some sort of sci-fi power fantasy where they're like, we need to make the new HAL.
Yeah,
'Cause-
they're not a pseudo-religious Silicon Valley freak.
Exactly.
They're just normal
Exactly.
people.
And that's the thing that I really like about this whole wave of capitalism we're in, where it is just like the best people, the most qualified people to be running everything are the people that are in charge.
Mhm.
And it's been really kind of fascinating to watch how
Systems working.
yeah, all the systems are working, all the pieces are falling exactly
Unironically,
into
it is.
place. Well, yeah, it is literally working. But it's also metaphorically working within the bit
Hmm. Hmm.
because the best and most brilliant minds of our generation are the ones that are leading the country. So I like that.
Exactly.
The American dream is alive and well, folks. Call me Mark Cuban.
Grok told me so.
Grok told me so. I liked when Grok first came out, and then people were like, "Hey, is Elon Musk a good person?" And then Grok was like, "No,
Yeah, Grok used to be woke.
Grok used to be woke." And then they gave Grok the red pill.
Now you can have sexy time with Grok if you pay for uh X premium or whatever it is.
Yeah, which I am actually a fan of. I
Yeah.
I don't know. When it comes to all the AI girlfriends, I'm actually very pro them.
I'm very pro.
I'm very pro AI girlfriend, not for myself, but because I
It's just
think.
because I want to be Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, I also that. I would
Yeah,
love to be Ryan
you just like me
Gosling.
for real.
Yeah. But also, the people that actually have AI girlfriends are probably the same people that would treat their real life girlfriends poorly. So I'm
Mhm.
fine with them being taken off the market.
Yeah, that is true. That is
Yeah.
true.
If
It's
you're
just if they ever grow up and find a real person, then I'm terrified for that person.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm just saying if you're willing to like water down a relationship to like the surface level sexy pictures and
Yeah,
like small talk, then it's probably good that you're not having this relationship with a real person.
I
So
suppose.
I'm very pro
Mhm.
AI. That's the thing about me.
That's the thing about me.
I'm really good at twisting things
Mhm.
into being positives, even if
Yeah,
they're
you just gotta
negatives.
run for office.
Yeah, you were saying that yesterday. I'd be a good
Mhm.
politician.
Yeah,
And I agree. I think I
you got
am.
the kind of sarcasm where like if someone hasn't been around you for a long time, like they won't be able to know.
Mm,
So you can kind of just like genuinely spout whatever you want to,
that's
and
true.
people will be like, "Okay, I'm
Yeah,
down with that."
I did kind of have like I don't remember. This was probably in like 2020, but I did kind of have the thought like while I think it was while like all the BLM protests were going on and then Donald Trump like posed with the Bible and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
man, it would be so g dang easy to run for office as a Republican. And I know we already had
Oh,
this
it's incredibly
conversation.
easy. Yeah.
But I was just like, man, I'd be so g dang good at it because I know exactly what these freaks want to hear, and I'm very good at parroting what people like. So
You can do it.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now here's a question. If I for some reason I took the red pill and I
Hmm.
decided to run, would you lose any slash all respect for me
Oh, absolutely.
if I became a right wing grifter?
Absolutely.
Okay. Would you still do this show with me if I became it?
No.
Oh.
We
Oh,
could probably like do a heightened version of our YouTube channel that we were originally doing with like we have two opposite music tastes. Let's
mm. Yeah, but
let's battle.
I don't want to talk about politics.
Yeah, I
Really,
suppose. Yeah, you would be a conservative, so you wouldn't want to do that.
yeah, I don't want to really get into the issues.
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
j- yeah, because I mean that doesn't really matter. What's
I mean,
important?
you could be a right wing grifter, and then I could like go undercover and try to get people to like sway to the other side, but like make it in a cool way where they don't realize what they're they're signing up for.
I think that was like a part of my idea was like to.
Because that's easy once you can actually have a conversation with someone.
That's true. I guess what I was thinking was that like I would do this big con. If I
Hmm.
ran, I would I honestly, if I was like a straight up communist, here's my
Hmm.
tip to any communist listening.
Hmm.
Uh run as a Republican and then just say the worst possible things that you could ever imagine a politician saying, win, and then once you're in the Oval Office, then just do the exact opposite of everything you campaigned on. What are they going to do?
They would kill you.
Well, yeah,
You probably have about like 48 hours.
I guess so. I guess I would just take it all down from the
I
inside.
Yeah, I don't think it would be successful.
No.
No.
What if I looped
If they were
in?
real communists, you'd know that you can't like take power and do it that way.
I
Like
think what
from
I
the top of the office.
but I think it would work though.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, but when I do it it would work for real though.
Yeah.
Because I would get like the biggest billionaires. I would do so many
Mhm.
campaigns to the richest people and I would say, I just love Jesus.
It would
And
only work if like you surrounded yourself with all those people, one, and then did unspeakable things that I can't say on this
mm,
podcast for terms of my safety. Um,
like diddle
that would
kids or
make a
something.
that would make a substantial change
Mm.
like that quick before you get assassinated.
Oh, so I would need to like surround myself with all these people and then murder them as soon as I get into power.
Hypothetically in Minecraft.
Okay, interesting. This
Yeah.
is an interesting hypothetical we found ourselves on.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I guess that would work.
Hmm.
I guess I guess the tough part of doing anything like that is to get the military on your side. And if I campaign myself as being a huge fascist guy who hates women and loves, uh, I don't know, kidnapping black people,
Hmm.
then I don't think the army would necessarily get on board with me doing a switcheroo.
Yeah, so that's why you can't like make socialist revolution from like being in office, because if you don't
Mm,
have like true ideological support from the military, they're just going to coup you, and then
that's
it's going to be a
true.
military coup. That's like
Yeah, that's
that's why it
worse.
it like literally has to be a ground up,
Oh.
because otherwise there's no way it could possibly work.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more it's not
That's why
actually
it's
gonna
so
work.
difficult. Yeah.
Ah. Well, that does kind of suck that all of the big communist movements that are going on right now are trying to get in office.
That's true. That's right, brother.
I don't know. I was just I don't know what
It's
I'm
a good
saying.
conservative talking point. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of cool that all of the
Just say
Democrats
random
are.
stuff and like put two buzzwords in it, and you're good. And maybe like have like a snarky tone to it, and you're good.
I don't know about you guys, but I can't stand when Hillary Clinton washes those G-dang emails with unborn fetus placenta. This is terrible for the economy.
Benghazi.
And she did Benghazi. She's a total communist. And I've heard that she doesn't even give head to old Bill. And
Ooh,
frankly, women should be forced to give head to their husbands, I think.
because of woke,
Because of woke,
non woke.
women don't give head anymore. And I don't appreciate
There you go.
that as a white man. As
Whose
as a
identity is
man.
being stolen. Yeah.
Yeah. As a man, not necessarily a white guy.
Yeah.
Um,
No pronouns.
no pronouns. That's another thing. That's something my old lady is really trying to, shove down my throat. And I say, hey, I'm the one that's supposed to be slipping stuff into your food.
That's an old school.
That almost like felt like a Rodney Dangerfield bit,
Yeah.
but more, well, I don't know. He was kind of evil in all those bits too, but I was like more evil, like a criminal.
Well, I'm glad we're documenting all this in case you do take that turn, because then
Hmm.
they might catch on to your game. But
I don't see it
I don't
happening.
have any affiliation to this, so this is all hypothetical.
This is all hypothetical. Yeah, I don't think I could ever do that. Probably. I
You
am a
can't throw me out.
hero.
Where are you gonna put me? China?
Gonna go to China?
I'll go.
I don't want to go to China. Everything's not in English.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's kind of
I
my
am learning.
that's my big sticking
It's
point.
my long game.
And I don't think they would like me because I'm
Yeah, no,
American
maybe not.
man, which is understandable.
Hmm.
But uh,
I don't like Americans, and I'm American.
yeah, it does limit my travel options.
It
I
does.
I really wanted to go to Afghanistan, but I'm too afraid that I would get discriminated against for my country's actions, which, by the way, were
The
not mine.
Taliban would discriminate against you.
Yeah, they don't
Although
like
the U.S.
white
made the
guys.
Taliban in charge, so it's kind of
Hmm.
like maybe there's a double-edged sword there.
Mm, yeah, that's too bad. It's unfortunate all that happened, but it's also we couldn't have done anything, so it's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing we could have done about
Mm-mm.
it.
Nope. Oh, we couldn't have just left it alone after the USSR dissolved. That's
Yeah, of course.
that
It's not
was
like we like goaded them into going in there and then being
yeah.
like, "Ha, we got you."
I think it's what's funny about that whole situation is that they were like, we need to bait the USSR into attacking, and then as
I
soon
need a
as
Vietnam because I'm I'm worried that my country is gonna do it again.
but then like immediately like they fail and their entire
Yeah,
country dissolves, and the first thing they do is like, we need to do that. That was a good
Let's
idea.
go.
Like, man, you knew this wasn't a good idea like 10 years
Yeah.
ago. But
Capital is not very bright.
no. Well, George
The
H.W. is not very bright.
search for never ending profit takes you in some weird directions.
That's true. That's true. Just ask Rocky 3
But don't
or
tell you about
Rambo 3, Rambo
yeah,
5,
Rambo 5.
Rambo 7. Even though that's not in it, the thing, because the blowback told me so. I haven't seen the
Yeah,
film,
I haven't
but
either. I always thought that ending was kind of fake. I'm like, that's too on the nose. Come on.
I don't know.
But it is funny.
I I've seen like way less believable stuff from 80s action movies.
No, yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, that's way too. Come on.
Yeah. It's funny though. It
It
would have
is.
been funny if it was real.
Would have been one of the best things ever.
Yeah. Well, it's not.
It's still quoted all the time, though. So,
Yeah, this film is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen
Mujahideen.
fighters.
Yeah. It's a banger line.
It is pretty fire. Uh, Shout out to Sylvester Stallone and Ronald Reagan. My two
Top
idols in
two
a lot of
men.
ways.
Yeah.
I see myself as Sylvester Stallone because I have a goofy looking face, and I consider myself Ronald Reagan because I like it when milk trickles down my supple breasts into the lady that is giving me head's mouth.
It's called trickle down economics.
Yeah, exactly. It's more like trickle down ergonomics because of how
Mm.
tight the milk
Ergonomic.
drips.
Because of the chair I'm sitting in.
Because the chair I'm sitting on, because I'm getting head in an Eames chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herman Miller.
Yes. Speaking of, I want an Eames chair so bad. Those things look rad as hell.
Yeah. Chairs are so expensive.
I know. We should do that thing that YouTubers do where they're like, here's my Amazon wish list in the description. If you guys want to buy me something, you can buy
We
me
should do
something on
that.
Amazon.
Yeah. Buy me this $800 chair.
I want an $800 chair and I want a 3K sectional. Can you do that for me, YouTube
I
audience?
need it for YouTube content.
Yeah. You guys can all chip in or something, but you guys have
Yeah.
to organize it. I'm not going to do that.
Buymeacoffee.com, but it's like buyme800chair.com.
Yeah. We need to set up a Discord that is specifically for buying Boy Time's 2 Eames chairs to record videos in.
Exactly. I'm never starting a Discord for anything.
Not even to get an
It
Eames
never
chair?
ends well. It never ends well.
I don't know. I would for an Eames. Oh,
Okay.
jeez. Yeah, they're 5K.
Yeah, they're
I just looked. Oh.
yeah.
I'll never get an Eames chair. Unless everyone chips in.
If all of our subscribers donated you $1, you would still be 2,000 short.
Frick. That sucks. Can we get one of your rich business pals to invest?
I know 0 rich business people, but yeah, we can probably find one.
Nice.
We can make a pitch for something fake that'll never happen, and then we can just get some money.
And then get Eames chairs?
Yeah, all of our schemes are just like airing out on this podcast, so there's gonna be like receipts for whenever we do any of these, and I don't get in trouble.
Yeah, because you just suggested doing fraud.
Yeah, that's fine though. The
Yeah.
whole government is fraud right now, so
That's true.
they're doing it. I'm just taking a role model from the great United States.
Well, I don't know. I don't think that'll fly.
Okay.
I think if Judge Judy listened to this podcast where you pitch me doing fraud, doing a rug
Yeah,
pull
I'm
of sorts,
I suggest.
I think she would sign it with a plaintiff.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. This
Send
is
me to China. I'll be fine.
this is incriminating evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would send you to China for frauding people to get an Eames chair.
It's my request.
I don't know if the U.S. would send anyone to China like a prisoner. I think you just get sent to a little island in the Pacific.
Yeah, probably.
You work on the Virgin Islands,
Hmm.
which is kind
I'll
of like
request it though. I mean,
I
see what
want
Miss
to
Annie says.
I want to go to China.
Just throw me there. I'll never
That's
come back here again. You won't have to worry about me ever again.
I don't think that would ever
Everybody
happen.
always tells communists go live in a communist country. Fine, put me in one.
Yeah, send me there.
Coward.
Put me on a little rock in the ocean and
Yeah,
just float me
take me to
over.
Cuba.
Cuba.
Cuba, not Guantanamo, but like other
Close.
places. Yeah,
I think if you put in your note, send me to Cuba, I think they would just send you to
they'll probably.
Guantanamo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that where all the treasonous people go?
No, I mean it's a black site, so we don't know who's over there.
It's a black site. I don't know why we have to bring race into everything. It's just a prison.
Just a
And,
prison.
and as we all know, prisons are equally represented by white and
Absolutely
black people. That's one
correct.
thing we know. Demographics don't lie. Numbers don't care about your feelings. That's what they say.
Hmm.
Wise men said that before me.
I think we've done a good job as like completely dismantling what you think. So like none of you can't be accountable for any of this because it's just a mishmash of a whole bunch of different ideas and feelings, which is very similar to like every manifesto from every shooter in this country since
Oh,
American politics is incomprehensible.
oh well, thank you
So
for comparing me to a mass shooter.
just saying, like you can't be like you know, you can't be accounted for when it comes to that
I
stuff.
can't
If
be.
you do the right wing grift,
Oh,
like I think it'll work still.
yeah. You don't think that I've botched that in any way?
No.
Oh, that's nice. It started off in a very mean place, comparing me to a Lee Harvey Oswald type, but now,
Oh no, just more like the nerdy, stupid ones, like the
oh,
freaking like first Trump shooter. Like he was just like a
oh,
kid. He's like I was just
yeah.
gonna shoot whoever came here first. I'm like okay.
Okay, never mind. I take back the thank you.
Yeah,
I,
that's what I was.
you weren't saying that I was some sort of like mastermind assassin. You're saying that
No, I
I'm,
mean even Luigi's like incomprehensible politically. So
yeah, even though he's pretty sick.
oh yeah, he's fantastic. Like that, you know.
I I've been playing the most modern Hitman games, and that
Hmm.
whole thing reminds me of something from a Hitman cutscene,
Mm.
and I like it for that reason. That's the only reason I like it. I actually think that I think it was wrong for him to assassinate that guy because he is alive or he was alive and probably has kids.
And then he
And
was not.
yeah, that's the crazy thing about
They don't tell you.
that's something that the leftist people don't they kind of gloss over, where it's like they're so pro violence, pro killing,
Hmm.
because they like killing babies or something.
Hmm.
Probably alive ones too, which is nuts. And uh, they don't tell you that
As
these mass
opposed to dead
shooters,
one.
that's the mass shooters that they're praising, like this Luigi guy or whatever the Columbine kids were. They like they don't tell you that those guys actually killed people, and then when you are killed, you actually don't come back, and that's something that they don't tell
Mhm.
you. I bet. I
Yeah, there's
bet.
no respawn. It's weird.
Yeah, I bet when people saw like huge mass shootings in schools, everyone just assumed, oh, well, those kids are gonna come back. But
Yeah,
actually, that's something
depends
that
how you
the
respawn.
yeah, that's what the big news don't tell you. They don't tell you that they aren't coming back, and
We
that's
should
why it's so
campaign on
messed
that.
up. Yeah,
You don't respawn, folks,
you don't respawn, guys. Let me tell you, once you die, it's over.
unless you believe in reincarnation.
And I do. I'm a Hindu, always have been. That's just another little twist to really
We
throw
should
them
end on
off.
that.
Yeah, because I'm a Hindu. Okay, bye everybody.